Hey guys, this is Robert with recreationalwoodworker.com, and today I'm going to do an overview of my Festool Domino. So I am going to show you how I'm using this because I was working on this project today and I decided that, hey, I'm using my Domino. I've never done a review over my Domino. Now is a really good time to do that. If you've been a tool guy for a while in the woodworking world, you know essentially what a Festool Domino is. It is a loose mortise and tenon joinery system that looks just like this. Festool makes two of these. One is the Domino XL, one is the Domino 500. I have the 500. The XL does really big loose tenon joinery for like beds, huge pieces of furniture. You can even get outdoor tenons. I do mostly freestanding furniture, so I haven't yet come across anything where this couldn't do a big enough tenon joint in it. So let me go over some of the features of this with you. First, I'm going to unplug it and get it disconnected. So this was actually my first Festool. I bought it used from a friend. He's a cabinet maker, but in his workflow, it didn't work quite right for him. He does a lot of production work and a lot of cabinet making. He has a shop set up where he does everything, dados and rabbets. He has table saws set up specifically for those tasks. So the Domino might not be for everybody. There's also Domino Alternatives, like a biscuit joiner, which doesn't give you the same structural joint. And then there's a lot of these duo dowler tools that are popping up on the market. I kind of want to get one just to see what the differences are. The advantage of the doweling jigs like this is you can buy the dowels anywhere, where here you either have to custom make your dominoes or buy them. They're consumable. I don't think they're too expensive for what they are, but Festool is proud of their products, so they always charge a premium for it, but it's good stuff. This is what's known as the Q set. You can buy it without these jigs and accessories. Here's a thing. But I would recommend spending the extra money on the Q set for the things that you'll use. This is a rail and style jig. You basically set this to the width of your rail and style, and then you can get it dead centered every time. I'll be honest, I've used this a couple of times, but this is my least used jig. The other things that it includes on it are these guys. These work by a pin system, so whenever you're coming across your table, you reference this pin on your starting surface right here, and then you make your plunge, and then as long as you start from the same side, this pin will drop into your domino mortise and you can index. And then when I start on my next side, I'll start on the flat and attach it. And that's just a super handy thing to do. Everything on this tool is metric. It has a little dial indicator right here that you can see right here. There we go. And that controls how tall this fence sits up. So let's see. So you can do a mortise that is, you know, really deep in like 2x4, 8/4 material, or you can go down to, I believe, 1/2 inch material. I leave it set at 20 millimeters, which is basically for 3/4. And then it's 10 millimeters from the fence to the base plate. So I can do the domino either way or I can use it to reference off of each side. I gotta be careful saying that. You gotta play with this tool to figure out exactly how it works, because it's hard to explain. But once it does click, it works, and it's pretty intuitive, honestly. So that's the fence. These are, again, my favorite jigs. Everything's designed to go in it. You can set it, you can see the millimeters right here. You can set it on this little fence to be the right spacing, and this is a spacing I chose. I could go a little bit wider, but this is the one I use all the time. And of course, it all fits into your sustainer. The next accessory that comes with this Q set is this bottom fence. This allows you to just have a better perch when you're doing those 90-degree plunge cuts, so I can reference off my fence and then have a good purchase. You can see right here, it's got a little index line on it, so you can get on the center of your guy. You can even see your center line on the tool itself, and that just screws in right to the back. we go. So the great thing about how this Festool is designed with these mounting holes in the bottom and these little wings right here is guys like TSO, guys like woodpeckers make different jigs and accessories to amplify the power of this tool. These are just, you know, plastic accessories, but they do their job very well. The next thing on this tool are these paddles. So I hope you can get in here close enough to see that right here. These paddles right here, you'll notice they go in and out. That works the same way as those pins I just showed you. You can take it and reference it right here on your work surface for a starting point. This works well for doors and then face frames, things like that, because as long as you reference off the same size, if your domino is not perfectly centered in your workpiece, that's okay. And that's how I use it a lot for my doors, cabinet doors that, or my dog kennel doors that don't have an inset panel, as I'll just come around here, hook it, pop it, plunge it, and do my domino. Depth adjustments here, and then here is the bit right here. So that's a 6mm bit, and the way it works is it plunges up and then moves side to side like that, and it cuts your mortise. It takes everything from I think a 4mm all the way to a 10mm. I use the 6mm and the 10mm the most, and then 8mm is kind of in my in-between. I do bigger freestanding furniture, so I haven't used a lot of the smaller domino tenons yet. You can also adjust the width. One important thing that everyone says, but I have never found it in the manual, is don't turn this dial to adjust your width while the tool is off. You need to turn it on, then adjust it. But you can see you've got a small, medium, and large mortise, and all that does is just makes this slot wider or narrower. I like it wider, especially on tabletops, because it makes it easier to get those alignments, and since that's just holding it flat more than it's adding strength, it's fine. On this, I want the strength, so I'm just keeping it tight. This tool is precise enough where that can be done, and you don't need a lot of wiggle room. You can always shave down a domino a little bit here and there to get that wiggle room you've needed, and I've had to do that a couple of times. So one thing I didn't mention about this auxiliary fence is installing it. It's best to install it like this, where you can make sure it gets on, because it does have a little bit of play built into it. It also has these little flip out feet. Watch. So those little flip out feet right there. What those little flip out feet do is allow you to do basically the same thing here, but with a little bit narrower stock. So you flip out that little guy, and then it'll just hook on to this edge just a little bit better. And I'm sorry it's a little bit out of frame. So now what I'm gonna do is I'll show you the tenons and the knockdown system real quick. I will put some B-roll in here of how that knockdown system works, because I build it with dog kennels a few times if it's got to go through a really small door, and you can use the knockdown system. So let me show you the sustainer sets that go with this domino, and then I'll show you how I mill up this little leg right here, just so you can kind of see how it works. So these are the two sustainer sets that you can get it with. You don't have to buy the sustainer set. You can just buy the size dominoes you think you'll need. For 3/4 material, 6x40s are what I use the most. And you can see the domino right here. This domino is just exactly how it looks. It looks like a domino. It's got little presses in right here, and then that just slides into your mortise, and I'll show you that in a second. You put glue on it, and then bing bang, you're done. So this kit came with 6x40s, 8x40s, 10x50s, 8x50s, 4x20s, and 5x30s. So I don't think I've ever used these teeny tiny little guys. If you do like picture frames and stuff, it could be really good for it. I do use these 10x50s. If I really want a meaty tenon in there, I like using these on my cabinet doors. Just because I feel like it just gives it a little extra something, and it gives enough surrounding it that it's still nice and strong. For most 3/4 work, that's what I use. 8x40s are kind of, I don't know, I don't really use them that much. I think I kind of want to use them exclusively, and then 8x50s I'm out of. We use them all up on a different thing. What's really cool is this knockdown connector system. So this knockdown connector system allows you to build like IKEA style knockdown furniture, and it works really, really cool. You can do panels, knockdown. It's just super cool. I will insert some B-roll here of how that knockdown dog kennel went together. But basically you cut your mortise and then you insert this guy. This guy is basically acts as a wedge. It fits in there nice and tight. As you tighten that up, this pulls wider and wedges it in there and holds very tightly. You then have the receiver. On the opposite side, you drill a hole with the cool little jig it gave you on your non-show side. And then that pops in here like this. And then you have a set screw that fits in there. And so you have a male and female end that just will insert like so. And when you tighten down that screw, it's a wedge, so it just pulls it tighter and tighter and tighter, and it holds everything in place. And it does create very tight, strong joints. When I do multi-piece countertops, I will use these to pull the two pieces of wood together nice and tight. That works really well. And that's pretty much the connector system. There's a few variants of that in here, but that's the basic gist of it. So now let me show you how this works. Have everything set up. It's on narrow. I've got my dust extraction. You do have to use a shop vac dust extractor on this. You don't have to buy the Festool one, but you want to use some type of vacuum system with it. Get everything set back up. Make sure I'm right. Make sure my plunge depth is correct. That's one of the most important things. And then we'll set it right here. Go over till we hit, and then plunge. Okay, so now you can see that as I come over here, it's gonna hit. So I can just pop off this wing right here real quick and then finish my last mortise. Okay, now you can see I have my workpiece set up. My end is over here with my rabbet for my back panel. This is the front, so I need to reference off this side over here. Now, I'm using 40mm dominoes. I could only plunge down 15mm when I went like this, so I didn't go through the floor of my dog kennel. So I have to come over here and switch to 25, which adds up to 40, so my 40mm fit. You could also just use 30mm, but I don't have any in the size that I wanted to use. And so now we're going to plunge in long ways. This is where the face references, and as long as this stays the same, you can reference off the fence, and I'm referencing off the fence, and that will keep my alignment right. So as long as you reference off the same point of the domino every time, it'll line up. So I'm just I'm gonna line up my pin right there. Make sure everything's right before I turn it on, because I only get like one shot at this. And right there. And this is where the advantage of cutting it a little bit oversized is, where if I'm not perfect, I have just a little bit of adjustment I can do. So it looks good. I'm gonna turn it on and make my cuts. Okay, and I wanted to talk about something real quick before I cut this clip, is whenever you plunge the domino, you don't want to manhandle it like this, because that can cause you to go up or down. What I like to do is I take my hand and I'm pushing away from me and down, like at a 45-degree angle. You want this to be super flush right here and in the same place. And then I pretty much just hold it by the handle to make my plunge. This puts me as in line with the blade as possible, so whenever I plunge in, I'm plunging nice and straight. And you just want to plunge slow and smooth. You can see I wasn't going turtle slow, but I definitely wasn't trying to go as fast as I can. I just want to go in nice and smooth, and you just want to feel it through the hardness of the material. All right, now we're ready to assemble this guy. we're now ready to do our glue up. So I've got my dominoes right here. It's always a good idea to do a test fit, just to make sure everything goes together before you start adding glue to things. And I can see that now I'm aligned correctly right here. I've got plenty of left to right room for everything to get aligned. So now I'm gonna pull these out, and then I'm going to add some glue. This way I'll have a continuous glue joint all the way down. All right, so now I'm gonna get those in there. And by putting glue in the mortises and like wiggling them around in there, I get glue all over everything sufficiently. If I was using these purely for the sole structural strength, I would be a little bit more careful. So now I've just got to kind of angle this all together, get it together, and right there you can see how it finally went. Got a little good glue squeeze out, and now I just need to nail this together to hold it in place, clean out my glue squeeze out. So there you have it. That's my review of the Festool Domino 500. I've had this for a couple of years. I'm definitely glad I bought it. I recognize it's probably not a tool for everyone. I would say if you're building one-off, one-of-a-kind custom furniture, one piece at a time, this is the tool for you. If you're doing mass production cabinetry, things like that, there's probably other better methods for you. If you're a hobbyist, this is a very expensive tool that might not pay for itself, and you don't really need to do anything that there's nothing this tool that can do that you can't do some other way. What it does do is it makes mortise and tenon joints super easy, and it works really good and really quick to take your woodworking from that next level. It pretty much replaces any need for a biscuit joiner in your shop and does a lot more than that. I would not say it replaces pocket holes. Pocket holes definitely have their use. You can use this in place of a pocket hole joinery, but it's going to be a lot slower because you actually have to wait for glue to dry for clamping. So let me know in the comments, do you want one of these, and would you actually buy one? Because I imagine the answer to anybody who watches a tool review over this thing is, yeah, I want it. But is this something that you think would be of value in your shop? Let's start a discussion in the comments below. If you have a question that I didn't cover, ask it there, and I try to respond to every comment. If you like this video, give it a like, and we'll see you next time.